Welcome back. Now we want to look at the yes, no, or Boolean type of data, and we are going to use this table, student details, and this we shall assume that two of these students had repeated, and we want to know, if we query this information later on, we wish to know, okay, what is the mark of this student, and is that student student who repeated the course or not. So we shall go to the design view, and then for the field name we shall have a question. As a question, we shall frame it as a question. We'll call it is repeater. So or a statement, but kind of an ambiguous one, is repeater. So this will look at whether this student is a repeater or not. So now we shall have the data type being yes, no, and that's it. So we save it, and now we have checkboxes with the field name being is repeater. So we can have Ken or Eric being a repeater and Wendy being a repeater. So that is how data will be entered. This comes in later when we run a query as to whether, you know, this category of student is this or this. So we shall now go ahead and run a query based on this to check or to get details of students who are repeaters. So now let's go ahead and create a query that will return records of students who are repeaters. We'll start with that. Then we can also add another query that will give us the students who are repeaters and are female, who are repeaters and are male. So we shall go to the create tab, then query design, and we want the table student details, so we shall double click that, and now add the data that we want, or the records that we want them to appear. So student ID, student name, student class, the subjects, double click each and every one of them up to total, and then repeater. So for this case, we want records of students who are repeaters. So we shall come to the criteria under the is repeater column, and we type 1. Now 1 means that it is true that student is a repeater. If we type 0, it is false. So when we type 0, it is equivalent to typing a false. If we type 1, it is equivalent to saying true. Even -1 is accepted. It is true. So we shall now say we want records of students who are repeaters. So when we run this query, you can now see that only the records of students who are repeaters are displayed. We can go ahead and uncheck the repeater is repeater field, and then we run the query. The query will now repeat, or rather it will show the details of students who are repeaters without necessarily showing us the yes no box. Now I also want us to check on the gender of these students. So for our case, we shall select gender. We double click on gender, then this gender will be equal to. Now since we have string, we shall have to enclose it in double quotes. Now we shall call female. Of course, SQL does not mind the lower or uppercase. Whether you represent it in uppercase, then you query in lowercase, it will still work, but it normally ignores it. So when we say student who is a repeater and is a female, so now you can actually see that we have Wendy, who is a female and she is a repeater. We can choose to not show, and when we run the query, it will show us the details or the record of Wendy, who is a repeater and a female. Now when we come here, we shall change this to male and then change that. So now we have Eric, who is male and is a repeater. If we wish to show this, you check, and now you can see that the student Eric is a repeater and is male. Those are ways in which we can query a table, records in a table, by use of several criteria. Now, if we go to the SQL view, the SQL view will show us that we have the select statement, and select statement selects student ID. Now, since I had initially talked of student ID being the admission number, I want us to represent the student ID as an admission number. So we can use an alias. Select student ID as admission, ADM. So now we select student ID as admission, student name. We can even also give this an alias as name, student class as class, English as ENG, mathematics as math. I'm forgetting something here. An alias must be given AS, and sciences as SCI. Total, we shall call it, we'll use it capitals, capital letter, caps, as total. Then is a repeater, I will leave it the way it is. As gender, I'll leave it the way it is. So you can now see the last field that we are querying does not have a comma. Otherwise it will give you an error. So from student details table, where student details number 1 is that is a repeater, is true, we can change this now. You can even change it to false. So the student is not a repeater and the gender is female. The gender is female. So if we run this, there is an error. We have an error in class. So you can actually see that here, table student details class. It should be the last word class should be an alias. So I'll go to class here and it's highlighted even. So I'll say as. Sorry. So I'll as class. So let's run it again. Now we have the record of one student, Jen, who is female and she's not a repeater. That is how we can query based on several criterion. Therefore, that brings us to the end of this video. In the next video, we shall look at another data type, which is an attachment.